Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sree. Iyer. Joining me today is General Ravi Shankar, and we're going to be talking about what is really going on in Ukraine. Talks, United States appears to be on the back foot. If so, why? And all this and more. Let's welcome General Ravi Shankar. General Ravi Shankar, Namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskar and thanks a lot. Very interesting times we are living in. The world is changing very fast. So we don't know by tomorrow Ukraine will remain or not. The same thing.
Very true. Very true. Uh,
Yeah. So
Viewers,
let's.
a 30-second history primer for you before I yield the floor to General Ravi Shankar.
Yeah.
What has happened about Ukraine is something, it's not yesterday or the day before. This has started 30 plus years ago. When the USSR disintegrated, one of the agreements that was agreed to on the US side was that there will be no NATO expansion. No new country will be added to NATO. But the US just waited for 3 years. Under Bill Clinton in 1994, 4 countries got added. And with time, more and more and more and more got added. And every time a country got added to NATO, the person who was running the show in Russia started getting more and more nervous. And then it was Putin's turn. What US wanted to do was to encircle Russia from the other side. They wanted to add Georgia also. So at some point of the time, what had happened was, I think 2013, if I remember correctly, Ukraine elected a Russian-speaking president. This is elections. They won. Yanukovych was the guy. He won the election, but America didn't like it. What did they do? They engineered this Maidan revolution, and they ousted Yanukovych. And to Putin, that was the last straw on the camel's back. What he did was he went and annexed Crimea. You can say it was a referendum that was rigged. Whatever it is, Crimea became part of Russia. And at that time, it was Obama. He didn't do anything about it. He couldn't do anything about it, I guess. So be that as it may, this is how the thing has been simmering. And with talks of Ukraine also being added to NATO, and then Putin sees the writing on the wall. Next is going to be Georgia. So essentially, NATO was going to encircle Russia geographically. You know that Finland and Sweden are the newest entrants to NATO now. So these are all some of the big picture geopolitical challenges that Putin had, and his response was to attack or invade Ukraine. I'm not making, I'm just making observations here. Right, wrong, we're not talking about it. This is where things stood on the 22nd or 28th of February 2022. War has been going on for close to 3 years now. People are sitting down and talking, and suddenly the United States is finding itself on the back foot. The reasons for that and the way forward as a general sees it. General Ravi Shankar, I yield the floor to you, sir. Over to you.
Thanks a lot for putting all these things in perspective. I just like to add, as NATO kept getting expanding, outward towards Russia, eastward, and Russia couldn't do much about it initially, and Russia couldn't do much about it initially because it was weak. But Ukraine was a different kettle of fish altogether. Ukraine was the underbelly of Russia. And if Ukraine was to join NATO, or if Ukraine was to become part of EU, and if once it joined NATO, NATO would put its weapons, missiles, and heavy weapons and troops in Russia, it would actually be an existential threat for Russia. And that is when Putin by then had made this no war pact with, or rather, no holds barred pact with China, and he strengthened himself. He built his military, he built his economy, and then went into Ukraine. Well, things have flown, for 3 years now. We've seen ebbs and tides in this war. So at this point of time, what's the status? Neither can Ukraine win this war, nor can Russia win this war. Both of them are actually exhausted. In a way, both want peace, in a way. But the concept of peace for both are different. But the real war is, we all knew it was between USA and Russia. Again, here, what is the concept of this termination of the war is also variance. And that is what something one has to understand when we say, will there be peace in Ukraine? Now let's take their initial positions. Ukraine wants a peace where Russia is completely thrown out and its old borders, including Crimea, are retaken. That goes back to 2014, 2013 borders, right? That's the thing. But we know it's not possible. Russia wants a case where Ukraine, whatever its status is, has to be a satellite state of Russia with no NATO, no EU. Something like this, like Belarus. Okay. That also is not feasible. It doesn't have the military capability to go and topple the regime and all that. We've seen it. It's not happening. The least is they will want to keep its territory, but keeping its territory has a problem, and that's what we're going to discuss. USA till now was supporting Ukraine. Trump wants to finish the war. That's what his Paul promise was all about. And he's made a tremendous start to this. He's actually, in a way, he's broken the ice towards peace. And he's the first person in all these years who said, let's finish this war. It's a useless war, and I agree with him. In terms of intent to finish the war, I think it's 100%. And full marks to him to take this initiative to speak to Putin. Many people might comment this, that, all that. Putin has a hold on him. Why is he doing this? Yeah, all that is a different story. But at least give him that credit that he's said, let's end the war. Okay. To end the war, 3 days back, the Russians, Foreign Minister Lavrov and Marco Rubio of USA Secretary of State sat down in Riyadh with their respective teams and had a talk. Now, that has actually, within the past 72 hours, in fact, it's not even 72, a little more than between somewhere in 48 and 72 hours, things have turned turtle. A lot of things have come up in discussions, and the whole thing looked completely different from what one could imagine. Okay, now let's look at it from each perspective, because if I talk without a structure, it'll all go over the top. You'll not appreciate it. First and foremost, like I said, Trump has tremendous intent to finish the war. That's good. But what's the problem with it? He's got no plan. There's no strategy. His plan revolves around stop firing, stop ceasefire, have a ceasefire, and then we'll go forward somewhere down the line. No. And what's more, the certain points for negotiation, which are major cards for negotiation, like not going back to the or going back to the 2014 borders, or not going back, it has been given away to Russia. Already, Hexet has come out and said there's no going back. There'll be no troops here, right? All these concessions have already been given to Russia. So Russia knows if Russia agrees today, what is the condition? Ukraine will not go into NATO. There's no return to 2014 borders, and there'll be no troops on ground. This is what Russia wants. So has USA put the cart before the horse to come into a ceasefire? That's a question. It's a very interesting question because there is precedence to it. This is exactly what Trump did during Afghanistan. After all, Afghanistan evacuation happened immediately after Biden took office. If we all remember, he took office in January. By August or so, they had to evacuate Afghanistan. But that whole deal was put through by Trump, where he gave away everything to Taliban just to evacuate Afghanistan. And then if you go back in time, Iraq, Iraq, Americans did a mess. Bush created the mess, and they just exited Iraq one fine morning and declared victory. So America has this thing of getting bailing out and declaring victory. So Trump, to that extent, is standing true to American traditions. Okay, he wants somehow to get out of this war and restart his relationship with Russia with no cost. So all the sanctions on Russia, everything are just gone. So the concessions given to Russia in this are tremendous already. What will USA get out of it? No one knows. Except the fact that Russia and USA will start talking. The larger dialogue will take place. Is there a grand plan to unhinge Russia from China? That's also not seen. What is at stake is the transatlantic alliance, NATO. Now, NATO has stood the test of time for 70 years. That's a thing. The Europeans are Europe, Canada, and USA is the West as we talk of it. Okay. Now that is at risk of breaking up. Already there is a lot of problems between, uh, you know, USA and Europe. So that is virtually Europeans are today miffed that Trump went over their head, spoke to Russia without consulting them. They're feeling threatened. We'll talk of the European position a little later. Okay. All this would be okay if on the your own front there's unanimity and of approach and thought. That's not there. Trump team is new. Rubio, Hexeth, Steve Witkoff, Mike Walsh, all are speaking with no clarity of thought. That's what I get the sense. Uh, the confidence doesn't come out. What are you going to deal about? What are the issues on the table? Except for the fact, oh, we had a great talk. Issues will be put out, all that. But there's nothing concrete. Look, we've told the Russians this is it. No, that has not come out. Okay. On the second thing, the next thing which has started immediately after between that meeting and today, uh, Donald Trump and Zelensky have got into a running fight, tit for tat. He is calling him a dictator. This fellow is calling him something, and that kind of a thing. A comedian dictator. So it's become your home team is completely in array. And you can't. You see, the war is being fought between Ukraine and Russia. You can't draw down to a war, peace in Russia, win this war without the president of the country in which you're fighting. So if suddenly tomorrow America appoints and says, "Thank you, Ukraine. You keep your dictator and you do what you want with Zelensky," and goes off. End of story for Europe. Europe is panicking now. And then there's a larger question which people are asking: is USA reliable as a partner? So Europe is, worried because as per NATO, there were certain security guarantees which were given to European countries by USA. Okay, those are at stake. So there are issues. So there's a lot of self-goal happening, everything. So except the intent, which is the good part, the rest, nothing seems to be okay. But this will be a fast learning curve for USA. I mean, I'm very sure of that. After all, the guys who are in the Trump team are not fools. Trump might not have a strategic outlook, but the chaps, who are as part of his team have the strategic outlook, right? So this will force them to think what's happened in the past 48, 72 hours will force them to think and come up with a strategy. Already Rubio has said, we'll consult Ukraine, we'll consult Europe. That consultation will happen, it will go. So if we think that this ceasefire is going to happen in a hurry, forget it. As it is, there are fights going on. I mean, drone attacks, this attacks, that attacks are going on. The war is not ended. Good part, talks have started. Okay. Now let's talk of the Russian angle. Okay. As far as Russia is concerned, they have shown no hurry to get into a ceasefire because that's not their plan. Okay. And they're very clear that they will not cede ground, no reversal. They're very clear that no foreign people can come and put their boots on ground, no foreign troops. And they are not interested in territorial access also. Tomorrow, Russia, if you give them a good deal, Russia might even quit the entire area. But Russia wants sovereignty control over Ukraine. That is an important thing. We go back into 2022, this war almost ended. He said, look, I'm going to control Ukraine. Part of that. He said at that time, no NATO, no
EU,
Nazi. If you remember, he said,
neo-Nazis, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no Nazis, no Ukraine, sorry, no NATO, no not being part of European Union, Donbass, Luhansk, part of Russia. These were the four conditions, if you remember, Putin's conditions. He's still sticking to them, you know, and he's very clear that he wants to put his own man in chair
Kiev.
in Kiev. Now, you see, Trump has said, you're a dictator, no elections and all that. So, virtually, if tomorrow elections are held and Zelensky is out and there's a Russian puppet in Ukraine will become part of Russia in some as a satellite like Belarus is. So, that is the Russian plan. Is USA getting into this plan? There's the question. There's the question. Plus the fact that he will demand remove all sanctions, remove all restrictions. More, the way I look at it, Russia is looking at the bigger strategic game. He is not looking at ceasefire. He can live without a ceasefire also. Capability of going forward. That's his problem. Okay. He's looking because Russia has been kicked out of Syria. So Russia will seek re-entry into the Middle East. Right? So that is at stake. Middle East. Then Arctic Circle. You know, Russia is looking at Trump's plan of acquiring Greenland. That puts him in direct contact. See, today, point of contact in the Arctic Circle between Russia and USA is only Alaska. But if Greenland is taken over tomorrow, the complete Arctic Circle, that those politics and the Arctic trade routes, which Russia was sitting pretty with its, the northern Siberia, and Murmansk is a warm water port. Incidentally, Murmansk and Archangel are warm water ports, despite being closest to the Arctic Circle because of the currents, right? Well, Russia had a very strong presence there. But now, if Trump acquires Greenland the way he thinks and Alaska being what it is, there's a problem, right? So, but you look at the flip side for Russia. Is Russia strong? People say its economy is good and all. Yeah, its economy is good as far as many things are concerned. But it's a wartime economy. Today, its economy is up because it's producing weapons. People are working. Yeah, whoa, it's selling gas cheap, all that. But tomorrow, if all that has gone, it has to transit into a peacetime economy. That will be very painful for Russia. And if Russia doesn't get good terms with Europe, see, Russian economy will thrive only. We have to remember, all people, whatever people say, Russia and China are not natural friends. They are unnatural allies. Whereas the European Russia is more aligned to Europe. Their connectivity is to Europe, Germany, Poland. Direct connectivity. So Russia's economy is Europe dependent. That's the best thing for Russia. But if the ceasefire happens the way it's going, then Russia's got problems. No Russian will admit this, but that's the negotiating tactic. It's going to be very difficult. Okay, if tomorrow Russia has a deal with Trump, what about sanctions by Europe? They'll not lift the sanctions. And if Trump goes ahead with Russia and Europe doesn't lift sanctions, Russia will still be at a loss. Forget what happens to Europe. We'll talk about that. So Russia will still be at a loss. It's not hunky dory for Russia, as people think. And plus, it's exhausted militarily. It's lost a lakh people, give or take, right? And it doesn't have the capability to go forward. Oh, you can fire that arsenic missile and this and that and all that. It doesn't give you territory. It doesn't give you power, control, political control. Russia steps out. See, one of the problems Russia faces is okay, even if it takes over Ukraine tomorrow, it will face a long insurgency. Does Russia have the capability to handle an insurgency in a country like Ukraine? So there are problems for Russia also, right? So I've given you the Russian side. All these have come out. Of course, a lot of things have not come out. Everyone is talking of what Russia has achieved, but I'm probably will be the first guy saying what Russia faces. Is that being shown in a mirror by USA so far? I don't know. Okay. What are the two core issues or three core issues of this entire game? I mean, we have to understand that because that's the core of the story. The core of the story is territory. Will Ukraine revert back to at least the 2022 status? Though it sounds difficult, continue like this, or will cede all territory to Russia. So these are the three options, and each of them have implication. Is anything indicated in this current thing? So far, no. In fact, what has been indicated by USA is you will not go back to 2014 thing, so you will lose 20% of your territory. USA is ready to accept 20% of loss of territory. Okay, if Ukraine loses 20% of its territory, what is the status of the balance 20%, 80% of Ukraine? That's the question. That's the question which has to be settled in this whole story. Otherwise, this war won't end. At least some understanding has to be there. Will Ukraine be a thriving democratic country? If it is, will it like to go back into, will it at some later date get back into NATO and EU? That's something Putin won't like. Putin will say no. If that is the case, this war doesn't end. Will continue. I'm sitting on a pig's back as far as he's concerned. Killing a few more guys, it doesn't matter. He'll get North Koreans, Nepalese, and all these fools and get them killed. Okay. Will it be acceptable for the West that Ukraine becomes a satellite state of Russia? If that happens, you're knocking at the door of Poland. Poland ho gaya to khatam. Your gateway to Europe is open. You go back to Second World War. What happened? The first country which Adolf Hitler took was what? Poland. Right? So, Ukraine is very critical today to not only to Russia, it's also to
Europe.
And as an extension to USA. The issue is, does Trump understand all this? Or is Trump scripting a new world order? Is Trump scripting a new world order where this world order will be of G3, Russia, China, and USA, and leave everyone to the dogs? Okay, in which case there's going to be chaos. Let me assure you, if this is, I mean, we don't know what Trump is thinking. और मेरे ख्याल में ट्रम्प ना सुबह उठ के सोचता है और रात तक वो बात खत्म हो जाता है. We don't know, and it depends on which side of the bed he wakes up also. If he's on the left, he thinks right. If he thinks on the right, he thinks left. I mean, that's the way he is. He's very transactional in his thinking. But like I always say, watch his actions. His actions. Actions are more important. So then, what about the security guarantees in this whole story? Ukraine will want security guarantees. Russia will want security guarantees. If tomorrow, I mean, just think there's a ceasefire, and across the current line in which troops are fighting. Okay, so yeah, this one. So, what is the security guarantee? That means to maintain this line, has to be some force on ground. So, will that force guarantee security of Ukraine? Will that force generate security for Russia and their conditions? Might not be. It might not come about. So that's a sticking point. That's a huge sticking point. And who will? Russia has already said no European countries will be there. No America. America, in any case, has not committed. So who's that first? Will UN be coming into the whole deal? But if UN comes, what is the guarantee for Russia, for Ukraine, that Russia won't invade back tomorrow like it has done? So that's also a problem. So territory, sovereignty of Ukraine, then guarantees of no war and security guarantees for Europe. These are the ones. See this map. You see Poland where it is. If Ukraine is taken over, Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, Romania, all these are under thing, and then it goes down to the rest of Europe. All these Baltic states will be in East European states will get knocked. If that happens, then you're looking at the old USSR construct. Once upon a time, this was the Iron Curtain, no? Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, Belarus, ऊपर चले जाओ. Moldova is a real threat today. Okay, so all this is there. So the yeah. So the geopolitical issues is how Russia is looking at it. Trump is looking at it transactionally for a ceasefire. Will it gel? It will not. Okay, now let me talk about EU. No, not this. Take it off. This is yeah. Let's talk of EU. EU today, or the European states, they are leaderless. They are in flux. Elections are happening. Somewhere the governments are left, somewhere the governments are right. They don't have one voice. There's no leader. There's no tall leader in EU who can take them along together. They are worried. They are worried about the future of NATO. They are worried about their own security. In all these years, they were very comfortable that NATO was protecting them. America had their backs. Today, suddenly they find that there is no back. बस वो Atlantic है, वहां जाके मर लो. As like it happened, and they can Dunkirk themselves. They are in that state. So for them, preservation of sovereignty of Ukraine is prime. Unless they can hold Ukraine, they can't. So, but if Trump pulls out American support, already there are social media things that Trump has pulled the plug on Ukraine. So if that happens, really, forget about social media. Then Ukraine has to step up. But Ukraine doesn't have capability. It doesn't have capability today. It doesn't have armies. So then it has to go back to the Trump plan, spend 3% of your GDP and hike up. If that happens, then Europe is back. Now, if that happens, there'll be a war with Russia. Yeah, I mean, people are talking Europe ko chhod do, ye karo, wo karo. We must remember, and this is something I always maintained. In fact, other day in TV9 when I was talking, I said this also, that Europe is a set of rich nations, especially Germany, France, Britain. For this matter, let me put UK as part of Europe, though Brexit ho gaya and all that. So those are, you know, uh, also there. So these are rich nations. They might be having, at this point of time, their economy might not be great, but they're rich nations. They have technology and they have a military history. So their revival, if their back is to the wall, like like Putin reacted once his back was to the wall, tomorrow EU might also react. Complete Europe might react, right? And if that happens, a remilitarized Europe, I can see some comments. Oh, luxurious uh, European life, yeah, all that soft. Remember, if Europe remilitarizes, we rest assured we are then entering into Third World War. They will not keep quiet. Okay, so that is where it is. But right now there are no hard power. There are a lot of heart wrenching, then a crying and all that. So that is there. Their interest is European interest, preservation of sovereignty of Ukraine. Because in preservation of sovereignty of Ukraine, their own preservation is there, and NATO. So that's also up in the air. Okay, what about UK, France, and Germany? What will be their role? Will they step up? I don't know. UK has got a left wing. France has gone into some kind of a election of its prime minister. This thing is going on. Germany is under elections. Romania elections have been cancelled. So you see, the European politics are in a mess. Okay, let's talk of China. What is it in for China in this whole story? China has got worries. If China has got the worry, if Russia agrees to Trump and Putin have a deal, जी जिनपिंग तो बैठ गया ना, वो तो खड़ा हो गया कोने में. So they are worried about it. But that's something they have to live with. But they also have the thing that, okay, this might give us the opportunity of what I told you earlier. Russia, USA, and China getting together, forming a G3 to run the world. It will be a more peaceful world. I mean, that's what people think. These are all thinking. This is all. But then there's another angle. China will say, yeah, dekho, that fellow took Ukraine. Why shouldn't I take Taiwan? And I'll use the same tactics. So China is getting ideas for Taiwan. So that's where it is. And China gets time to react to Trump and his antics. Because after all, remember, Trump is also still, Trump and America are still involved in Gaza, still involved in Ukraine. So they're still Taiwan focus is not there, China focus is not there completely. Plus the fact that Trump is doing a lot of inward damage, internal, he's internalizing. Dodge and Elon Musk is running riot. So that story is all. So those are the issues the way China is looking at it. Okay, let's look at India. What is it there for India? Whichever way this whole deal goes between USA, Russia, Europe, and Ukraine, and from here, we weathered the worst. From here, things should get better. That's the way I look at it. You know, it because there are chances of the Russia-China relationship coming under strain, which is good news. There are chances of Russia-USA relationship strengthening, which is again good news for us, right? It will also, we need to play Trump. Usko tarif karo, or keep him happy, humorous, and do what you're supposed to do, right? So I think this is also a time for us to focus on our progress And this is the time for us to focus on China, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Don't get involved in them. In any case, earlier also we never got involved with the Ukraine war. Let them do. But what is there in it for us? For us, this. For us, Middle East. India, Middle East economic corridor. Strengthen that. For us, look east. Act east policy. Start that. So we have enough on our plate by which we can, we need to look. I think I wouldn't say we need to look outward, but we need to focus inward. Our economy, resolve Manipur, resolve Kashmir, sort out Pakistan, sort out Bangladesh, and keep Chinese influence out. Good thing is Sri Lanka is with us. Maldives is 50-50. That's the way I put it. Myanmar is in a mess. Tomorrow in Gunner Shot, I'll be talking of Myanmar. Please join. And to talk of that will be with me the previous DG of Assam Rifles, General PC Nair, who was actually my subordinate when I was commanding. And I'm very proud of him. He's done a fantastic job as the DG of Assam Rifles. So these are the large issues I thought I'll put across. So the next question is, will there be peace? I don't think so. I must take your mind back to what Shreyar ji said in the beginning. This peace was broken by USA in 1990 as they started expanding east towards NATO. Physically, this peace was broken in 2014 in the Maidan Revolution. And then it has gone one step by step into where it is today. So the roots of this peace in Ukraine are deep, or rather, the roots of conflict in Ukraine are very deep. So it's not going to be easy, but if you can get a ceasefire, also, I think that's a great peace. You can't solve everything in overnight. So can Trump pull it off? So that is something which we can see. I mean, let's look at it. Has USA thrown in the towel? So certainly, the way some people look at it, they've already thrown in the towel. And like I said, they have the history of throwing in the towel. Whether you look at it in Iraq, Afghanistan, look at Gaza. Trump did say ceasefire and all. Ceasefire has happened, but has it settled the problem? No. You think Trump will make a Rivera out of that and throw 20 million to 2 million people out? I mean, 2 million is 20 lakh people. Here there are laws in developed countries where a tenant can't throw or rather
an owner cannot throw a tenant out. Yeah.
So आप तो यार 23 million people or 23 lakh people, where will they go? Will it solve the problem? And who will take them? No one wants to take them. I mean, if you put more Palestinians in Jordan, the number of Palestinians in Jordan will become more than Jordanians. And Jordanians always had a problem earlier. When they allowed more Palestinians to come in, the Palestinians wanted to do a coup against the king of Jordan. And who was in action at that time? None of our good old friend Ziaul Haq. He was a tank brigade commander there. He went and he massacred Palestinians. The same Palestinians whom Pakistanis are now sucking. The world is round. That's the whole thing. If you go into the history of warfare, you'll find a lot of. So, will Trump be successful? I don't know. Has he thrown in the towel? He might have thrown in the towel without even knowing. See, if you get into these issues transactionally without going into the thing, you might be transactional, but what about the other guy who's not transactional? You see, in a conversation, there are two sides to the whole story. And Putin is a past master at all this by now. So, well, that doesn't mean that USA cannot come out of it. You learn on the fly. They've got good people who can talk. they've got media, they've got strength. You see, one thing which Trump has, which probably Putin might not have, Trump has the support of USA, and that's a big support. People of USA support Trump. So that is something which he might just use to push its way through. But then uh, let's see how things unfold. I do hope I have made my points, and any questions I'm prepared to take on. Yours, and
Thank
then
you.
we'll go.
Yeah, thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar. Believe it or not, there are tons of questions today, 15, 16 already. One
We'll,
question I wanted to ask you one question. This is a little bit off the side, but at the same time, still on topic. When Ziaul Haq became the martial law administrator of Pakistan after beheading, not beheading, but basically hanging his
Bhutto.
mentor Bhutto.
No, he put a, he
And
didn't put, he just did a coup. He hung him later.
right. Then what happened was that Afghanistan invaded. Sorry, Russia invaded Afghanistan, and
Yeah.
at that point of time, Ziaul Haq. Before that, the US was giving him $400 million, and he said it's peanuts. And then once this invasion happens, US turns around and gives the ISI $3 billion. 3 billion. And it's that is what made ISI so powerful, and it continues to be powerful. In my opinion, they are almost equal, the army and the ISI. Perhaps ISI has
Yeah,
a slight upper
on
hand,
that there's no doubt.
right? So the question that I had for you, sir, is 8-9 years later, Ziaul Haq goes down in a plane, allegedly a bomb in a mango crate, and looks like the United States got really nervous about the way Ziaul Haq was radicalizing the Pakistani army. After all, they know that the power was always with the army. Is it true that the somebody like there's always a CIA person in the US consulate in Islamabad, that he tried his best to persuade the ambassador to not accompany General Ziaul Haq for this tank demonstration? Is it true?
These are, it's now shrouded in mystery. Uh, I suppose they'll have to take the reality to their graves, or they must be in some CIA file somewhere. So we don't know. I wouldn't like to. To be very honest, I wouldn't know.
All right, so let's take some questions now. Shritik Khotari, sir, I have one question for liberals and Europeans. Where was your outrage and ethics when Monsanto, Cargill, Vanguard, etc., secretly purchased millions of acres of Ukrainian farmland? Why cry now?
That's okay. That's geopolitics, Ritik. You can't do much about it. Yeah.
Next one, please. Thank you, Jyotishmati, for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you, the Lakshman 2010, for becoming a YouTube member. Mangat Ranga wants to know lots of reports on US AID, etc. spending. Will they be able to find out how much money came back to politicians in the United States? Will there be prosecution on this account?
We'll wait. Ask Trump. This is a Trump ask question. You must ask Trump, not me. Ask Elon Musk, Dodge, all those fellows who are doing whatever they're doing. How will I know what they'll do?
Mangat Rangaji, the first person who's in trouble is Senator Adam Schiff of California. Just look out for what's going to happen. Next one.
Yeah,
Sanjay.
maybe.
Sanjay PR wants to know, Pranam CRG and Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar sir, is it true Videshi Mahila ka bete ko USA entry ban hua hai? Just saw it on Capital TV.
I won't know.
Next one, please. Sam Keating wants to know, Jai Hind sir, I don't understand why anyone would oppose recent developments. It's like European politicians don't want war to end. They've kept the pot stirring all this time and continue to do so.
Yeah, maybe. I agree with you that this is a useless war. It helps no one. But the fact is that it is happening. What can you do about it? The fact is it's continuing. Everyone has vested interests. So there's very little scope for this to, get back to normal. That's why I said I'm not hopeful of a peace. Ceasefire maybe for some time, but that will be a troubled ceasefire.
Next one, please. It's me thinking. Thank you so much for becoming YouTube member. Manoj Soma wants to know, sir, might be out of context. Why? What is so special about the country that we absorb everything, whether good or bad? China gave COVID, we gave solutions, sir. Similarly, in case of Jews.
I think it's our capability to withstand a lot of pain. Pe- People look at it this way. I think it's a strength. Your strength to absorb pain and give it back in due course and due time is a great capability of India, which you should never underestimate. People view it as a weakness. I view it as a great strength. Yeah.
Next one, please. Naresh Neelakantan wants to know, do you think Russia was underestimated in the beginning, and was it really required after pandemic instead of progressive economics? Your thoughts, sir?
No, I don't think Russia was underestimated ever. After all, in this entire story, Russia was the one who prosecuted war, right? And it was USA who was saying that the war is going to happen. I mean, it was known that war will happen. It was Europe who, closed their eyes. Europe didn't wake up in time, as simple as that. If Europe had woken up in time, this wouldn't have happened. A lot of problems here would around Europe. The way I look at it, they should have actually thrown out Zelensky long back. They should have thrown out Zelensky long back and, taken the peace deal within the first 3 months. After all, this area of Donetsk and Luhansk were not, and Crimea were not with the under control
Ukraine.
of Ukraine
Yeah.
for a long time. Not now, 2014-15. So you might as well do, something which you can't get. You don't have the strength. And there is, I mean, let's face facts. At that point of time, Putin was talking sense. He spoke of Nazis and all. Everyone thought there were no Nazis, but there were a clique. There were a clique and complete right wing fascists who overthrew Yanukovych. That Maidan Revolution, if you study, I mean, Maidan Revolution is nothing but what has happened in Bangladesh today. Complete. The story is the same. Now you've seen where Bangladesh is going, and that's where Ukraine went. And that is why the problem. The fundamental problem of this whole story emanates from USA. I mean, to that extent, I fully grant full 100% marks to Trump. That he's doing something completely out of the box. We say, do out of the box, out of the box, out of the box. He's come up with out of the box solution. Will it be implemented is a question mark. I mean, I've given you various facets of the story today. But it needs to end.
Next one, please. Manoj San wants to know, is Trump's push to end Russia-Ukraine war to pave way for war on Iran? How would India be affected if US pursues such a route? Must Iran be defeated for IMEC to succeed? Oh boy, a lot of questions. Let's take one at a time. Sir.
No, I mean, there'll be no war with Iran. Now or ever. Okay. USA will not make the mistake to get into a war. That they have not done so far. It's a good thing they have not done. Iran won't affect IMEC. The whole point of IMEC is to bypass Iran. And Iran, remember, is itself weakened today. Iran doesn't have influence left. It has problems. We know that. So, I think, the Middle East and the West Asian scenario is today favorable to India. Russia won't abandon Iran, don't worry. But at the same time, there's an analysis which has come out in Foreign Affairs yesterday or day before that China is also incapable of leading an alliance of Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China. Because North Korea is the joker in the pack. I mean, I keep telling this. Shreya, someday we should do a thing on North Korea to put things in perspective.
You know what the title is, sir? You know what the title is? Soprano always, they make a joke, right? Any opera is not over till the fat lady sings,
Yeah.
right? It ain't
So
over till the fat lady sings. That's the
exactly.
last scene.
Yeah,
So
but
here we have a fat man, and what is he
that's
singing?
okay. We'll talk of it. But many people underestimate North Korea and don't understand North Korea and its politics. Maybe next week we'll do this.
Sure,
At
sure.
least, just for a different thinking. And you'll see the whole thing turning on its head. Chinese thinking will turn on its head. Okay? And as we perceive it. Okay.
Next one, please. Vishwanathan R wants to know: did Europe err in standing firmly against this war in the initial stage, letting the then British PM from stirring the pot and withdrawing smartly, letting Ukraine face the hammering?
Yeah, I think so. I think Vishwanathan, you're completely right. That fellow, that Boris Johnson actually queered everyone's pitch. Oh, I mean, he's not even elected. He was only having sex parties in 10 Downing Street. And that was the end of the story. So I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
Next one, please. Thank you so much. It's something for gifting 5 Gunner Shot memberships. Sir, you got a
Oh,
bonanza for 5 of your members. Or you can
yeah,
grant 5
thanks a lot.
memberships.
And
Yeah.
he's taken on membership for, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this. But I would like to request all those who are viewing, please do consider joining Gunnershot as a member, because joining Gunnershot as a member is not money for me. You're contributing to a good cause. That's all I can tell you. This
Should
is
we tell the cost, sir? Because it's very important.
yeah, why not? Yeah, all I'm saying
Yours.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, please.
See, I have to go back a few years on how our friendship blossomed between me and General Ravi Shankar. When I told him, sir, I would like to come, I'd like you to come. He had not started Gunnershot at that point of time. I'd like you to come regularly. And he just made one request. He said, once in a while, I'll ask you to donate to a good cause. And he explained to me what the cause was. The cause was that he identifies girls from very poor families who can't even afford basic education. And he says, I just take care of such children so that they can find their way and become self-supporting in over the course of time. And I've had the honor of helping him a couple of times, or one time, I don't remember. He hasn't even asked me after that. But this is what Gunnershot is all about. Every paisa that comes by way of revenue is spent on the betterment of economically suppressed girls, education, making sure that basic sanitation needs are met, their books are met. He is doing a very, very quiet but effective job. I tip my hat to the good general, and please help him in this effort.
Thanks a lot. Right? I mean, it's just that one has to do something. Money is not
Yes,
everything in
yes,
life. I mean, let me
yes.
put it. Let me put two, three things. Money is not everything in life. Viewership is not everything in life. Good things are always thing. So it's up to you to, yeah.
Next one, please. Interesting day, sir. Trump has a lot on his plate. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
SB Sarkar wants to know, General Sir, will a division of Ukraine with ethnic Russians merging with Russia and the rest be the buffer state?
See, the problem there is this merger, division, everything can happen. Who will monitor the division? Who will man that new state? Who will
They
man
have
the border?
intermarried, right? They have intermarried. This is not something.
That's not a problem. No, no. Yeah, what Sarkar is right. There'll be a buffer. It will not be a buffer state. That's the thing. It will be a buffer state only if it's a own state. But this is going to be part of Russia. That 20% of Ukraine, which is there, will be part of Russia. Okay. So Russian border has come forward. That doesn't still give security guarantee to Russia of Ukraine being at its belly. I mean, just can you put that map up? People should understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? Yeah, I'll explain this. Yeah. See, if you look at the top where that, that Kursk area, Ukraine has got a little foothold on the other side, and that's in Russia. If the war freezes today, the Kursk will be in the other side. If the territory, this thing, so Russia has also lost that. His loss is less, but in terms of importance of the territory, that's more than all this. Because that shortens the distance to Moscow by another 30-40 kilometers. So there are implications of this buffer state. I mean, I would say that there will be no buffer state. It will be shifting of the borders. Will the shifting of the borders work to Russia's favor? You will say it might not. That's the beauty of this whole story. That's why Russia is also in a fix. Not many people are talking about it, but it's in a fix. Yeah, thank you.
Next one, please. Venki Pinnanameni wants to know. Thank you so much, Venki.
Thank you.
Sarvatra Gaurav Evam Samman.
Yeah, Evan Samman. Yes.
Bangalore Subramaniam Srinivasan wants to know, what happens to Transnistria in the next Russia's battlefront? This is somewhere near Baltics.
That we'll see. See, that's the problem for Europe. Europe feels if everyone be given to Russia's demands, the next is that they will all sit in front of them. It's not only Transnistria, it's also Moldova, it's also Poland, all these areas are in the threat. That's the problem which Europe is facing. And today, suddenly, Europe is thinking, let's revitalize ourselves. They know they have time. Russia will not invade in a hurry. They don't have, like I said, Russia can't expand westward anymore. But if Europe rearms, we are heading to a war with Russia. And if that happens, there'll be a world war. That's that's on the cards. You might say I am thinking out in the, totally out of the box. I am thinking out of the box. Okay. Is it probable? Might be probable or not, but that's part of the deal. Yeah. Next question.
Next one, please. Did Europe err in standing firmly against this war in the initial stage? I think this is already done. Next one.
Yeah.
Anton wants to know, did the Ukraine war reveal China's drone warplane against India, Taiwan,
No,
etc.?
I don't think so, because you see, this war has redefined this entire concept of drone warfare. It has redefined the concept of air war, air power also. So to that extent, that has happened. It's nothing to do with China.
Next one, please. Namaskar, General Shankarji. Will NATO survive at all?
Today, it is at risk today. Today, it is at risk. But at some level, I do feel, this is again my own feeling, if some rightist governments come into Europe, then you'll see NATO going over the hurdle. Okay. But
next one,
let's
please.
see how things happen.
Yeah. Next one, please. Kamal Monga wants to know, how long will it take to stabilize Bangladesh? Thanks.
Look, you must understand, for 70 odd years, 50, 71 to now is 53 years, Bangladesh has not been stable. Even before that, if you go, East Pakistan was never stable. And lack of stability in Bangladesh is a function of 3-4 issues. People understand. Many people don't understand this. The first problem of Bangladesh is water, too much of it. Rains, cyclones, because the head of the Bay of Bengal is where most tropical cyclones come. And that actually defines the monsoon system. So the climate of Bangladesh hits it most. So that destabilizes the nation because of disaster. Disaster always destabilizes the nation. The second aspect of stabilization of Bangladesh or destabilization of Bangladesh is the increase of radicalism. That the increase of radicalism and Islamism in Bangladesh will not go back. I don't think so. So we have to understand these two issues. The third thing which will destabilize Bangladesh, will keep Bangladesh destabilized, is their population. Their population is rising, it's not reducing, and the land is only that much. So that that part of destabilization will spill over, and you have to live with it. There is no solution to this. Okay, we have to live with it and manage it. Now, all these three things put together make Bangladesh a nation which will continue to be destabilized. You don't need external influences in Bangladesh to destabilize it. That's got an auto destabilization mechanism inbuilt in Bangladesh. Yeah.
Next one, please. Rasheshwar Nath Rana wants to know, General Shankar sir, is it true that a rich nation like Britain owes us $45 trillion, or is it fake news?
All this is fake.
Next one, please. Fact checker wants to know, after World War II, EU had no threat from Russia. Why is Europe not being friendly with Russia? What is their problem?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I've asked this question to many Europeans and Russians. I said, why are you guys not? After all, after World War II, you had no reason to fight with each other. Right? Germany became a peaceful nation and all that. But it is in the genes. It is in the genes. Russia, by nature, is a continental power. Every continental power likes to expand its influence. It's huge. After all, Russia is the biggest country in the world by land mass, even now, full of resources. Okay, it's surplus. It's got technology. Russia is, after USA, is the most self-sufficient nation in the world. In fact, Russia and USA are the only two self-sufficient nations in the world. No other country is self-sufficient, including China. Okay, both these countries are energy surplus, their technology surplus, and food grain surplus. All three they export. So they threaten everyone around them. You see, after look at Canada and Mexico, they're being threatened by USA. Same thing. And Europe itself has been prosperous always, historically. So they have resisted Russian advances. Always. And it's a matter of culture, it's a matter of history, languages, ethnicity, so many things. You have to go into the spread of religion, Christianity. Okay. So all these, and now energy. So all these put together don't make Europe and Russia see eye to eye. That's how it is.
Next one, please. Sree Narayan wants to know, why not Ukraine join with Russia? I think we already answered this question. Pura Ramayan Sunkar. Victor 100 wants to know, will POK follow Baloch?
Doubtful.
Next one, please. Yeah, that brings us to a close of today's program. Well, wonderful thoughts exchange, sir. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channels. And Ganashot is worth its weight in gold. It is serious discussions about army, geopolitical objectives, viewpoints of very senior people who come and give their pearls of wisdom. Do watch it. And we try to rebroadcast some of those things on our channel too also. If you miss it on Ganashot, you can always get it on P Guru's channel too also. General Ravi Shankar, thank you once again, sir. We will see you again very soon. Namaskar.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll see next week.